This is Alex Hooper, and you're listening to the Matt Balaker podcast. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Matt Balaker podcast. It gives me a purpose. It makes me feel important. And if you want to get extra credit, please like, subscribe, and share. I am really excited about today's guest. We had a podcast a while back about a mutual comedian we love and adore. And I'm just really stoked to have him back because if you are like me, you believe that you are how you treat others. If that's the criteria, today's guest is a top 1%er. He's a skilled rope walker and trash talker. He's a fan of pugs, Greg Giraldo, and daily lollipops. Please welcome Alex Hooper back to the program. How you doing, Alex?
I am fantastic. Glad to be here. My pugs are actually fighting right underneath my feet as we speak. So perfect timing on that.
I'm glad not much has changed in pug life, but I want to start out. I remember, not terribly long ago. It was probably within a year. You had a post, I think it was on Instagram, where you discussed kind of lifting a safety net, where you quit your day job and you moved to comedy full time. Can you tell us the story there?
Yeah. So when I first moved to California, it was a little over 14 years ago, and I moved here and basically told myself within 3 years, I will work whatever job I need to do but I will work as hard as I can to be an actor. Eventually, 6 months later, I started doing stand-up, and I was like, 3 years seems like a good amount of time for me to break myself in out here enough where I don't need to do this job anymore. And at the time, the job was, I was a ticket seller at Universal Studios Hollywood, the entertainment capital of LA. And the job was fine. I did not get out after 3 years. In fact, it took me 12 years to quit, which a lot of people could have told me that 3 years was unreasonable to try to make it in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles, especially. But I just put my head down and I worked every day and went out almost every night and did open mics, did shows, all that good stuff, hit my auditions. The biggest thing was, though, I really didn't, as much as I didn't want to go to work at that job, I knew that it was affording me a lifestyle that was paying, that was helping everything else, servicing everything else that I needed to do. If I needed to go on the road for a few days, okay, I can take days off at this job and still get paid for them. I never have to worry about if my car breaks down and I owe rent in the same week because I just did it in a way that worked for me. And so many people, I've seen it too many times, Matt, they get one thing, whether it's a 6-week writing job, one late night set, and they're like, that's it, I'm quitting. I know I can use this momentum and take off. And then the worst thing in the world to me was to see someone quit their job, go to stand up full time or whatever it may be, and then have to go work at a warehouse. I never wanted that life for me. So I just said, however long it takes for me to know that I am going to walk out of here on my own terms, knowing that I can have this career, then that's how long it takes. And unfortunately, it was 12 years. And the main reason I quit, I knew I was going to quit in 2020, but the main reason I quit was the pandemic because obviously no one wanted to go to a theme park. But then I just realized I can't go back there. Like, this is my sign that I did my due diligence and I'm finished with it. And since then I've been comedy full time, and yeah, what a dream.
You've been comedy full time, and I think this is a choice a lot of creatives struggle with, like when to leave the day job. And I think some of it's just stupid. I think sometimes people care more about what their peer groups think. Like, if you have a day job, your jokes are no less good or bad when you're performing. But I think it does take, sometimes you just got to go for it. And what surprised you when you finally, became full-time comedian Alex Hooper? What were some of the learning lessons that you figured out?
The hardest thing was filling up my day. Is like I used to go to a place that would take, between driving there, working, and driving home, 7 to 8 hours of my day. And that was easily accounted for. And then I would come home, maybe do a little writing, go hit my shows. But when that was gone, I was like, oh, I'm still supposed to be working right now, like in some capacity. Yes, I don't have to go to Universal Studios anymore, but I should be using this time to clock in and get something done. So whether it's like, okay, one day I'll send a bunch of booking emails to the clubs I want to play all over the country, and the next day I will work on a script for a long time, and the next day I'll maybe apply to some jobs on Upwork for writing and things like that.
Mhm.
I had to find other sources to bring in money to make sure that I was always keeping up with my bills and never getting to a place where I was struggling and scared, because fear can be a good motivator. Being poor for me was never a motivator. Like I was terrified of being in debt in any way or owing people money, and just not knowing where my next check was going to come from. And so I would always be, what I do is I call it planting seeds. Is I just, like, if I send out 50 emails to potential work things that in the world of comedy, I planted 50 seeds. Maybe
Right.
only one of them will sprout and grow, but that's all I need to start planting more seeds. Is like, where did that one come from? Okay, that's working for me. Let me chase that down a little bit more and see if I can make an entire garden.
Right. You're very resilient, Alex, and I think you have the right attitude. Though, like, you send 50 emails, you get one reply. Okay, what's working with that? That's good. Lots of us will be like, "Well, what the fuck was wrong? What the hell happened with the other 49?" And then down in the dumps. Like, what? How do you coach yourself to look at that optimistically?
Rejection is such a huge part of this. And I could, like, people always say, like, wow, like, you got America's Got Talent. How cool is that? It's like, yeah, you didn't see the thousands of other auditions, opportunities, whatever I had, where no one looked at me a single time, or no one gave me any merit whatsoever. And you have to, I tell everyone this that's moving to LA or wants a career in entertainment, you have to learn that no is not a bad word, and it often has nothing to do with you. And if you take it personally, you're never going to last, because you're going to hear it all the time. I do voiceover stuff, and for every audition that I put in, they get 600 to 800 tapes for
Wow.
those auditions. Like, how am I supposed to be upset that I didn't get something when I'm against 800 other people? I don't even know if they listened, if they got to me. I could have been Q number 273 and they got it at 44. I don't know. But the thing is, you just keep putting it out there, and you try to think positively and have good energy when you are around people and doing these things. And you don't send it off going, I'm probably not going to get it. You send it off going, that's the one. And then you try to forget about it as best as you can, because every rejection makes the wins that much sweeter. I equate stand up to, and very much most things in the arts, you're chewing through a brick wall and it hurts so bad. But every once in a while, there's a gummy bear wedged in that wall, and you're like, oh, that's so sweet. And then there's more gummy bears in the wall. You just have to
Mm.
keep chewing your way through it, and then eventually the gummy bears become more abundant, and soon it's mostly gummy bears and hopefully a lot less brick, because the mastication of brick is no fun.
Yeah. Hear that, kids? Chew enough brick walls, and there might be some gummy bears on the other side. That's a good life lesson from Alex Hooper. So I learned of you, I think, initially, and as did many people, from your, which I loved, your America's Got Talent appearance. And for those who haven't checked it out, we'll put a brief clip, but watch and enjoy. He roasted celebrities who didn't necessarily know what they were in for. Can you share with the audience out there the story there?
Yeah. I mean, Roast Battle was a huge thing at the time. I had just done the second season of the TV show, and they came to Roast Battle. Producers from America's Got Talent said, we want someone to roast the judges. So
and this is at the Comedy Store in Hollywood.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, this is the Comedy Store. And it wasn't fully out of nowhere. I went in there, there were 5 of us chosen to go and see what would happen. And I basically told America's Got Talent, I don't know why you're watching this show, Roast Battle. This is the crudest, most unwoke show there could ever be. Although actually it's the most woke, because we make fun of absolutely everybody in there.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's all inclusive. It is like a safe space, as long as you can realize that it's about everybody.
Yeah.
But even still, I told America's Got Talent, I was like, look, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it my way. And my way is pretty outlandish and pretty weird. And I have this this weird costume that I was wearing at the time. And I told him, I want to go on wearing this and speaking in this silly voice that's very regal. I basically went in there like a court jester. My job as the court jester is I am the only person that is allowed to talk shit about the kings and queens. And so that's the way I looked at it. And AGT loved it, and they were all about it. And then performance happened, and the crowd hated me. The judges mostly hated me. And then it blew up my career. So in a good way, in a positive way. Just because I thought I bombed, but the internet told a very different story of finally someone gives it to these people, these rich aristocratic fucks sitting on their thrones, telling other people, your talent's not good enough. I don't like you. You're never going to make it. Like, well, fuck you. Like, easy to say when you have hundreds of millions of dollars. You're not sleeping in your car trying to get one more break to sing a song, So it felt really good. And it was just, it's just me having fun. Like, there's no maliciousness to it, but that's what people take it seriously. And I'm like, I'm wearing a tail. I am literally wearing a tail that lights up. What part of this seems authentic to you? It's crazy that people got so upset, but AGT loved it. And then I went back on 2 seasons later and made it to the quarterfinals. So clearly I did something right.
Yeah. Oh, you clearly did. And what big takeaways did you learn from your experiences on AGT?
The biggest thing was that I can perform in any situation, because having 3,000 people scream at you while you try to do an act, not just scream, but visually stand up. I can see them. All the lights are on and they're going like this, trying to X me with their arms. I mean, terrible, terrible feeling. But I realized that by just being myself, people reacted to it in a very positive way. And even if you reacted to it in a negative way, that's fine. It wasn't for you. Mm-hmm. But even the people that would react negatively, I was thankful for, because I was like, oh, but you're still adding to the algorithm by making these comments. People would share the clip and go, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I would just I would see those clips on Facebook and stuff like that and be like, thank you for sharing it. Oh my gosh. And I would agree with them. I'd be like, this guy sucks. How did he ever get on that show? And then the second time I did it, I went back, and this is right when the pandemic started, March 14th, 2020. I'll never forget that date.
Oh, wow.
Because lockdown was happening, and we were in the back waiting to do our auditions for the judges, and everyone was freaking out because they were sending the crew home. Nobody knew what was happening. And luckily they bumped me up to I could tell that they were putting priority on my act because they bumped me up a bunch of times. And so I ended up going to audition, and again, now I'm in that same theater, a 3,000 seater, but there's only 4 people in it, and there are Terry Crews, Sofia Vergara, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell. Like, that's who I'm performing for in this vast vacuum of a space. So that was very difficult because comedy without an audience is not really comedy,
No,
especially when you're talking shit.
Yeah.
Even in a loving way, you just seem like an asshole. But then they put me through, and then they put me through to the quarterfinals, which is the performance I'm most proud of. And that one taught me, again, resilience, and that I can perform in any situation, because now it's August. I haven't performed, or September, I haven't performed live in months. I don't know if these jokes are any good because I wrote them and just shared them with a few friends, but I haven't tested them in any way. There's still no audience. I'm under full lights, and this is a live taping. 10 million people are out there watching this right now. I have no opportunity to fuck up and say, hey, can we take it again? So that was a huge moment for me personally, because I was in the back just going like, you got this, Alex, you know what you're doing. You were prepared for this moment. Every open mic with no fucking people that you outlasted, so that you were up 39th or whatever, and every other person had left, and you're performing just for the host. You remember this feeling. Now go out there and own it. And I can honestly say that I did. I was fully up to my standards in every performance that I did on America's Got Talent. And that's the biggest thing. It's not about what other people really think of you. It's am I proud of myself for what I did? Can I walk out of there with my head held high and my tail hanging low?
And you nailed the performance. And I think an important lesson is, like what you said, is you're not going to please everyone. And it would be really boring if you were. I mean, America, the world is a big place. If you can get a sliver of that, you can have a hell of a career. But you're still
Matt,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You've seen this, right? You've seen a comedian go huge, and people are laughing at everything they do. I'll never forget this. I was on a show with Aziz Ansari once, and Aziz is naturally very silly and funny, but he started a joke by just going like, I was at Quiznos the other day, and the audience erupted, and he just went, no, that's not funny. I was just eating a sandwich at Quiznos. That's not the joke. And everyone is still then laughing because now he's getting upset about this. But that, I could tell in that moment, he didn't want that type of laughter. Like, you gotta let me at least get to the part that's funny, that I want to tell you. Let me earn it. That, yes, that is a very perfect way to say it. That's actually how I started my first album, because when I went out, there was so much eruption from the crowd that I literally said, stop, make me earn it. And I just think that's so important.
Speaking of earning it, I think you double down, Alex. You kind of sometimes dig yourself in a hole on purpose and then enjoy the process of climbing up. I remember in March of 2022, we did a show in Temecula, which is actually a great place. I recommend it. Good wine country. But I'm paraphrasing. You opened with Temecula, aka not good looking enough to live in San Diego, and that was like the first thing you said.
Yikes. I mean, I'm laughing at my own joke because I didn't remember it, but
I loved it.
Yeah,
So
no, that it is true. Like I learned that from Bill Burr. Like I heard it on a podcast years ago where he just said, "I'll be at a place like UCB, which is
mhm,
as like if you don't know, that's an improv space and stand up space too, but it's basically as woke as it gets. It's a lot of college
yeah,
students and things like that." And he
kind
said
of
he
a
would
hipster
always call.
vibe to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very hipster. They want very smart comedy,
Mhm.
like, and he said he would go in there and do shows and always say the word broads because he knew they hated it. Like, if I was, like, yeah, a bunch of broads came over the other day, like, and he said he would purposefully dig himself the hole just to see if he could climb back out. And I don't always do it on purpose. Like, I would have hoped that Temecula joke would have worked,
I
but
think
I'm
it
also
did, but I don't recall. I mean, I was laughing too hard to really pay attention to the audience. Please go ahead.
yeah, but I'm prepared for it to not work and then me to go, okay, pivot, shift. How do I make them like me now? Because clearly tough love was not the way to do it.
No, but I mean, you had a great set. I think they liked it, but I was just so happy to see that because it's so irritating when people pander all the time. And I'm sure I've done it from time to time, but it's like, it's nauseating. And so to see someone do the opposite was refreshing. So around that time, Alex, this was March of 2020. You got married, or
2022. 2022.
2022. Sorry, thank you. My years are getting mumbled as I get older. So you got married. Anything else of significance happened to you since then?
Gosh, yeah, around the time I got married, just shortly afterwards, in June, I started going to a doctor for some swollen lymph nodes. Found out
Okay.
in August that I had cancer, stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Pretty fun. Started treatment shortly thereafter and have been on that journey ever since, which has exploded in a myriad of ways, halting my stand-up career for sure, but also just taking me out physically, mentally. I mean, I have to do every day. I'm still not back to where I was, so every day I still have to wake up and do cognitive and physical exercises just to make sure that I am getting myself back on track, so that I'm getting stronger. I ended up in the hospital for 33 days. Not fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know the food is great, but what other experiences can you take away from your month in the hospital?
The fact that I never want to go through that again. That I was trying to like, it was really difficult because I was so weak at that time. Like it wasn't the cancer that put me in there. It was just a side project of cancer. Like it wasn't like the main band. It was when the lead
It
singer
wasn't
was
the
like,
lead act. It was
yeah, it's when the lead
the
singer
side
goes,
stage.
guys, I want to try something a little more experimental. I'm going to get into this guy's portacath, and instead of putting chemotherapy in, I'm going to cause an infection that will rage throughout his entire body and shut down his whole life and almost kill him. So it was honestly like, I mean, I hate to say almost got used to it. As much as I wanted to be out of there, when you're in a same place for a month, you're just like, oh, I guess this is life now. Um, but fortunately, I was able, I had a lot of support from friends, family, and things like that. And I was very motivated to get the hell out of there, even though I was becoming sentient in a lot of
Hmm.
ways. There was other ways that I was, or sedentary. Sorry, sedentary. See, that's part of my cognitive effort. It's like my words are still not getting exactly right.
And you can always
Um,
blame it on the cancer. If you mess up a joke or forget something, cancer.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I did that the other night in my first show back. Like, I tried a couple new bits, and they didn't really get laughs, and I just was like, whatever. I'm dying. I don't care about you. Um, so yeah, it just perspective is everything, and I can't be mad or upset about the fact that I have cancer. I could not like it, but I have to
Sure.
look at it as, okay, how do I use this to my advantage? What lessons am I going to learn? What can I take away from this experience that I never wanted to have? But tough shit. Sometimes you end up in a situation that you didn't want to be in, and you need to figure out how best to make it benefit you instead of be a detriment to your life. And that was the biggest thing I wanted to do, was just basically figure out why this happened. Not, there's no why this happened, but
Yeah.
figure out how I can use this to be a part of, to strengthen my story and make me an overall better, more likable person, if that was even possible.
I don't think it. When you're after the Q rating off the charts, you did. You can't get any more likable, but you managed. You managed. So there's a lot you just said, and I want to unpack it a little bit. Like,
for sure.
I mean, like, to people who don't know you, and there aren't many people in the world who don't know who Alex Hooper is. It's one thing to say that stuff. You know, I mean, I hope if I were in similar situations, I would have your identical attitude. You actually lived it. I mean, these aren't just words, people. Like you know, you used your optimism to help you. Where did this come from?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I had plenty of bouts of depression and anger in the past few months that, you know, of just, you know, fuck everything. Let me pay my tab on life. I'm done with this shit. All of that. But it basically just comes from the fact that, like, I believe that the world is genuinely a good place, and that it is a privilege to be alive in a time where there is so much abundance. And it's, if you know, you go outside every day and you look at the sun and you're like, okay, well, there's something to this. But really, it's the life that I've built for myself. It's that I'm proud of the people I surround myself with, because they lift me up and inspire me endlessly. I'm proud of the career path that I've chosen, because it's difficult and scary, but so rewarding and fun. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish. And a lot of that is just attitude, because I want everyone around me to be in a good mood. And I'm not a sociopath. I'm not just like, hey, your dad died. Don't worry, dude. Just go out and look at the sun.
Right.
But I do know that when you're around me, my attitude is I want you to leave feeling a little bit better than whenever you first entered my space, in whatever way that is. However I can do that. Maybe I made a little laugh. Maybe I just listened when you needed an ear. Whatever I did to make you feel better, that's the way I kind of approach everything. So what can I do in this situation? And the biggest thing was, I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to tell people that I have cancer. I'm not going to do the Norm Macdonald thing and hide. I don't know how he did that. Norm Macdonald had cancer for 10 years and his best friends didn't know. But and look, that's a Norm thing. That's fine. He was a gambler and stuff, so he had his demons and his secrets. But imagine if the world did know, and they were like, Norm, we are with you. You are going to get through this, you know, all that. Maybe he didn't want that at all. But for me, letting people know and then having them go, don't worry about it, Alex. You're going to be fine. We're all here with you. You're in this community and you're not going anywhere. That's enough positive reinforcement for me to go, okay, I'm not. So whatever I have to go through right now might suck, but on the other side of it, there's going to be this beautiful perspective of how great it is to be alive, at least for me. You know, I'm not, there's some babies that are being born on a dirt floor right now in the middle of Serbia that are probably like, maybe calm down.
I'll go back in.
Yeah, just trying to crawl back into the womb. The mother's fighting it off with a spiky bat, just like, no.
I want that comfy uterus, please.
But yeah, so, you know, again, show people. And that's one thing that people have thanked me for, is being transparent about cancer and hopefully making it a little less scary. Because at some point, cancer is going to touch you, whether it touches you specifically, ew, gross, Crystalia, or it just, or essentially, a family member, your best friend. Cancer hits everybody in some way. So hopefully when it does hit you, you'll be like, oh, well, Alex laughed his way through it. He also cried a lot.
Yeah.
But that's normal. You should. But in the end, I went through it in a good way.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I remember when I saw your post, it was at a time when one of my best friends, probably the friend I've known the longest too, has cancer. Another friend was dealing with it. It just seemed like I was honestly afraid to like look at my emails anymore, because it's like so and so has cancer, and I'm getting older. It happens more, but for some reason, when I saw yours, don't get me wrong, I was sad, but it was different because I'm like, I saw your optimism, and I know I don't know what medically a positive attitude does, but it's got to be better. And I'm not saying it in a phony way, but like every day you do balance work, you treat people well. So I'm like, Alex is going to take this head on. And I laughed. I mean, when you did your presentation, like, I didn't feel sorry for. I mean, I don't mean that as an insult. Like, I was just like, I'm very confident in you. Now, that doesn't mean like I had no worries, but one thing that stuck out when you made your announcement was, when I see you, we can talk about it, but make fun of me. I don't want this to only be the thing. Like, what was the reality? Like, after you kind of came out as having cancer, so to speak, like, how did people
walked out of the closet wearing a feather boa saying, I have cancer, everyone. Very Nathan Lane in the birdcage.
Very much so. Yeah.
No, I mean, here's the one thing. I didn't want you to act differently around me. And I understand that when people see me now, they're going to think, oh yeah, cancer. They're going to think that. But dude, the worst question, and I've tried to get people to stop messaging me this, just how are you feeling? It's like, people ask me that all the time, and I get it. It's fine. And I'm like, a lot of times, like, I was out last night. So last night was at the Hollywood Improv, was Bud Friedman's memorial, who started the Improv, and he died back in November. And so last night was the memorial, and still people are just like, how are you feeling? Because they see me out, but they don't really know what I've gone through because they weren't there the whole time. And that's fine. But what I look at them, I'm like, am I out? Am I having a conversation with you?
Yeah.
Am I dripping meat sauce from a slider that I'm eating while I'm having this conversation? Like, I'm good. Like, yes, I'm still very much in the throes of cancer, but it's fine. The other thing I realized is people don't know how to react. Some people immediately, when I did announce it, were like, hey, if you want to talk about it, let's go. I'm so sorry. This shouldn't have happened to you. Like, why Alex Hooper, all this other stuff. But other people I noticed didn't know what to say. So they would actively avoid me in hallways and things like that, like at the comedy clubs. Yeah, just like, because suddenly when death is on your doorstep, people are like, oh, it happened to him. He's 37. Like, I'm 40. What's going to happen to me? Like, they don't want to think about it, but they also, it's just as bad, I think, when I come cartwheeling through the door, like, I am 37. Now look at me. So I'm just learning, like, everyone reacts to it differently, and you have to respect how they react and just try to inform them that, yes, this is a scary, shitty thing, but we don't have to treat it that way all the time. I laugh at cancer I make jokes about it. I don't give it the the weight within my psyche that it could hold, because so Tom Dreesen last night at this Bud Friedman thing, Tom Dreesen, legendary comic, been around since the beginning, basically. He
Total
said
class act, yeah.
Oh yeah. He was saying that laughter's so healing. So that makes us physicians of the soul. That's what comedians are. And he used that phrase, physicians of the soul. And I've
Mhm.
always said that laughter is an escape and comedy is an escape. And that's what I want you to feel when you're watching me, is I want you to forget about your problems in the outside world. Forget about the fact that you got in a car accident last week, that you have a bill to pay, that your daughter is sick. Well, maybe remember that one, but whatever it may be, yeah, that your spike bat baby in Serbia is getting stronger and it might kill you soon. But basically, that laughter is so healing, and it's a physical thing that happens when we laugh. It flows through our bloodstream. The endorphins rush through, and
Mhm.
that is healing. And there are people that get cancer and they just laugh their whole way through it, and they're going to be better than the person that's like, why did this happen?
Mhm.
Everything is ruined. Like, I had all these plans. Yeah, dude, we fucking all had plans. Sometimes those get uprooted and you got to deal with it. And how you react is everything.
Yeah, getting cancer is on no one's to-do list. It's never like, oh well, now this is what I was expecting. So we're all grateful you're back out of the hospital. You're on stage. Um, how has your outlook? How have your goals changed in the last several months? And also how are they the same?
It looks pretty. I mean, my goal was always just to be as successful as I can be and to make just to spread joy as much as I can throughout the world. Spread joy, give laughter, all that stuff. That's still very much the same. Um, I think I was in a place for a while where I was spinning my wheels and I was going as fast as I could, but without a lot of direction, just because I
Mhm.
wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I ended my podcast because I had some other things going on, but then I wasn't really doing anything other than the stand up that was like, allowing me to reach a bigger audience or even challenging myself more than just stand up. I always like to have multiple things happening. And so now I just have a greater perspective of I need to not be scared of ideas that I have. Um, I think that's something that happens when you get older. Is when you're younger. When I was younger, I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, I'll try this. I'll try to throw this crazy comedy rave party and do and whatever it may be." And you're not scared of the consequences because I was like, "Well, Universal will be there if I'm not going to lose money. What's going to happen to me? No one's going to care if it doesn't go well." But now I'm like, oh no, it should go well, right? Because if it doesn't, then I'm going to waste all this money, and then where am I going to be? And people will look at me as a failure, and that gets into your head all the
Mhm.
time. And now I'm like, well, who cares? Like, I don't care what I shouldn't care what other people think of me. I should just keep putting out work that I'm proud of and let the people find it that are going to relate to it and resonate. And
Mhm.
so I think the overall goal is still just make the world feel better, make the people that are not the world, but the people that are in contact with me or in any sort of, circumference to me feel better. And then, but also just dive deep into whatever I'm doing, put my hard work and soul into it, and know that even if it doesn't happen, it's fine. There will always be more ideas and more things to do.
Always more ideas, more things to do. So, what's new? What's next? What are you looking forward to in the future?
I mean, I just got back on stage for the first time last week, and I'm still slowly getting back into that. So I'm obviously very excited about just being back out and seeing friends again and being in a place where I feel very at home,
Mhm.
which is comedy clubs. And then, um, more voice just started my voiceover auditions again, was able to be strong enough to do that. I'm going to start a new podcast that should be coming very soon. So an idea hit me that I've been waiting for an idea. And I didn't just want people like, just do anything, man. Just talk into the mic. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I could, but my last one was Achilles Heel. My last podcast, was so pointed and so driven. And part of the reason why it was good is because it was thematic and people knew what they were getting into. It was still different, a little different every time, but now I finally have an idea where I'm like, oh, I'm excited about that. That gives me momentum. That drives me. That makes my blood boil a little bit. Like, so how do I get into this now and just start doing it and releasing it? I actually recorded 3 episodes just yesterday because I said, what am I waiting for? Am I waiting for, like, I'm getting a beard trim and a haircut today. And I was like, well, I want to get a beard trim and a haircut. And my wife was like, who cares? If you feel good and are inspired right now, then do it right now. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing is I think we talk ourselves out of so many ideas that could, drive us, but we talk ourselves out because it's like, but I don't want to do it like right now. Like, I gotta set everything up and like do lighting and audio and like uploading. I don't want to do any of that. Like, and then you have to just go, shut up. Nothing is going to happen if you don't put it out there. So just fucking put it out there and see who relates to it, and don't worry about the people who don't. One thing that I gotta say this, like, because I know we're like wrapping up a little bit, but I mean, one thing that the cancer has taught me and the hospital taught me, being in the hospital, I didn't walk for 2.5 weeks. I lost a lot of like brain function. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was. And I realized when I got out, I was doing like physical therapy like a 90-year-old woman that had been in a car accident. Like, I'm literally just going, okay, neck up, neck down, neck up, neck down. And I mean, it's just like, yeah, just that kind of stuff where I'm just like, they were like, is it okay if we give you a 2-pound weight? I'm like, a 2-pound weight? Are you? Yes, it's fine. Like, I'm going to be okay. I'm the tortoise right now. I'm the tortoise. I'm not the hare. I was the hare thinking if I run as fast as I can, everything will work out for me. But in that, I got tired and I wasn't thinking about the overall picture. I was only running towards something that I thought if I ran faster, it would get me there quicker. But that's not the case because I wasn't doing the diligence of giving myself the time to live in what I was doing and be afraid and not be afraid to make mistakes. So with this new podcast, I'm really trying to focus on not looking at download numbers and just trying to keep it frequent and to a schedule, to some sort of schedule so that I'm not like letting people down in any way because it didn't show up. I want to treat this like work. And, the more you do something, the better it will get. So, yeah.
Well, hell yeah. Well, where can people learn more about you, your podcast, your dates?
So hoopercomedy.com is my main website. On there, you have my tour dates, which right now are nil. But I am performing around Los Angeles. I'll be back on tour eventually once I get this cancer all taken care of. But my Instagram at Hooper Hair Puff. That's I'll probably announce the podcast probably early. I'm thinking as early as next week. I don't want to put like anyone. I don't want to make a promise, but I recorded 3 episodes and I'm pretty happy with how they came out. So I think I am going to start it next week because, again, I'm sitting here dying right now, Matt. What am I going to do? Waste more time?
No.
Another form of cancer? No.
We're all dying.
Hey, dude, that's it. Have a good time. We're all dying. So
have a good time. We're all dying. Well, Alex, with those words of inspiration, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you,
Matt.
much.
This was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Matt Balaker podcast. To learn more, please check out mattbalaker.com and encourage your friends to like, subscribe, and share. Really appreciate it.